Well, Craig, in recent weeks, as you very well know, Donald Trump has said that the only way he can lose the election is if it is rigged. This explicit effort to undermine the results without evidence and before the results even come in is dangerous. Donald Trump has spent much of his administration undercutting many things that he perceives to be a threat. But with less than 2 months to go before Americans go to the polls, I wanted to find out if his voters actually believed his irresponsible warnings and if he should lose, what they might be prepared to do about it. When President Donald Trump speaks,
the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged.
His supporters listen. Outside a recent Trump event in Purple, Pennsylvania, I spoke to about a dozen people, none of whom thought the vote this year would be fair.
If we don't allow mail-in voting, yeah, I think it will be fair. You allow mail-in voting, it's a given that it's going to go the wrong way.
These new ballots are being mailed out to dogs, dead people.
And while no one had trust, most did tell me that they would live with the frustration or rely on law enforcement to rectify it.
So if he loses, what do you do about it?
If we lose, like really lose, and the Democrats don't cheat and try to steal the election and steal ballots, then we just go away quietly.
But a few steps away, I found a supporter who said he would take matters into his own hands, if necessary.
What are you prepared to do?
Anything possible.
What's anything possible?
Anything all means.
How far do you take that?
I'm a United States veteran. I served, I took an oath to defend my country. To the best of my abilities, and I will do it.
Would you take up arms?
If that's what it comes to, yes.
Really?
Absolutely, I would.
Frank Figluzzi was the FBI's assistant director for counterintelligence. Is the gentleman I spoke to at the Trump rally the only one?
I wish he were the only one, but Katie, there's every indication from online activity, the rhetoric, the groups calling for a civil war, calling for a massing of weapons. There's every indication that there's a growing threat of violence.
That threat, Figluzzi warns, is readily visible on sites like Twitter and Facebook, but also less well-known spaces like Parler and Telegram, where images calling for bloody insurrection are shared primarily by the right wing.
What we're seeing online develop is very disturbingly similar to what we saw in terms of violent jihad radicalization.
Radicalization is a charged term, but you think it's fitting for what we're seeing?
I see very little dissimilar in the movement right now. The online watching of videos, listening to what amounts to violent sermons and preaching, the sense of wanting to belong to something greater, to join a cause that will put you on the map.
The White House has repeatedly said the president condemns all violence, but is warning without evidence that the election will be stolen.
They had some sent to pets, dogs. This is what we're going to get into, and it's going to be a disaster.
And that Democrats are trying to destroy the country are repeated and amplified on these platforms. Chris Sampson is the chief researcher for the Terror Asymmetrics Project. He says he sees both Trump's conspiracies mirrored online and online conspiracies mirrored by Trump.
Is he following a trend that's already in play, or is he leading a trend? You know, it's kind of chicken egg at that point. And either way, it becomes a what we call stochastic terrorism threat. Stochastic terrorism is when you're not directly saying go do the following, but you're saying if the following happened, that's okay.
You get a mail in, rip it up and throw it away. Go to your poll. Okay?
In a statement to MSNBC, the FBI says it will continue working closely with our federal, state, and local partners to identify and stop any potential threats to public safety. They say they gather and analyze intelligence to determine whether individuals might be motivated to take violent action for any reason, including due to concerns about the election. Craig, also, we reached out to the White House for comment. They responded to only one of our two questions, answering that, and I'm quoting here, the radical proliferation of universal mail-in voting has the potential to jeopardize the integrity of the upcoming election. But, Craig, they chose not to respond to our second question about whether the president's rhetoric might be radicalizing people.
All right. That was disconcerting, a very important report. Katie Tur, thank you. Thanks so much for that. I want to